Hey, so I'm back out here at the farm in Warren County. If you got to see the first video of this series, then you know my family and I are in the process of buying this 257 acres in Warren County. It's a cutover timber tract. They're actually, I don't see the loggers. I'm hoping that they're gone, because they've made a mess of things. It really is a sight for sore eyes. However, it's going to turn into some phenomenal habitat, and we talked a lot about in the first video about some of my plans on the southern end of the farm. I'm up on the north end of the farm now, and I'm trying to develop some different income streams to help pay for this property. And obviously it's a lifetime commitment to buy this much land. It's a large financial commitment, and it's got a little bit of cropland on it. Talked about enlarging that. It's on this opposite hillside here. Talked about enlarging that from about 20 acres up to a total of about 60 or 70 acres of cropland. This field that I'm standing on is currently in soybean production, corn soybean rotation, but it doesn't produce a high enough yield for the farmer to pay me to crop this. So he's getting a little money off of it, and he's putting some food out here for the wildlife, but I want to turn this into an income producing field. It's about 10 acres. So I'm going to take this out of his crop rotation this year, and I'm going to plant this into chestnut trees, and going to turn this into a commercial chestnut orchard. In 8 to 10 years or so, this will be providing a good annual income that will offset the expense of this property, even though this is only 10 acres. This 10-acre field with good producing trees in 10 years from now should produce, on today's numbers, figuring about $5 a pound. This field's capable of producing about $100,000 gross income annually. That's significant. You can't do that on 10 acres of corn or soybeans. There's not a lot of crops you can grow. And the great thing about chestnuts is there is a great demand for them, and there's not a lot of supply. The guys that are growing chestnuts sell out every year early in the season, and they're selling as many nuts as they can produce. This site right here works out really good for chestnut orchards. It's a south facing slope. It is too steep really to farm, but it's not too steep to grow trees on. It's not too steep to harvest the nuts, and we can eliminate any erosion issues by planting those trees here and getting a good sod base down beneath them so that you're not losing your soil. I've got good road frontage out there, so if I want to do a pick your own kind of deal where people come pick their own nuts, there's plenty of road frontage out there for a parking area. And I don't have a whole lot of shade because this thing has been timbered, so there's not a lot of shade that's going to cast on this field. It's a really ideal situation. I done a lot of research on a Christmas tree farm, but I'll be honest, there's just no money in Christmas trees. It takes too long to recoup your inputs. And with chestnuts, yeah, there's a high front end for quality trees to plant. You really need to irrigate those young trees to cut down on loss. So there's a good bit. You have depredation from deer and squirrels, things like that. So probably we'll end up putting a deer-proof fence around this to keep the deer out of it. So there is some expense, but I can stretch that over a decade. I don't have to have all of that put into this at one time. So probably start out this year planting about 300 trees. I'm going to put them on a 20-foot spacing. We'll get into more detail once the planting starts, but obviously we'll feature all that on the video series. So let's go to the next spot. So we're down in the creek bottom here, and this is a relatively wet natured field. It's great soil down here, down in the creek bottom, very fertile soil. But it's probably too small, too wet to bother trying to crop. None of the neighbors' fields, I can see water standing over in that field. So I've got to try to figure something to do with this. And I've thought about doing wildlife food plots down here. The problem is the neighbor's field is right there. I don't know who all has access to that road, and I don't like putting wildlife food plots in view of the road. I just don't. And I'm not saying they're poachers, but I just don't want to tempt someone that may be less than ethical when it comes to their hunting. So probably will do some sort of screen along the road here, have a nice gate coming into the property. Again, this is a shared road coming in right here. We were earlier, we were just up here on the hill, and then the other crops are going to be back up on this hill back in here behind me. So this will be a nice, all the timber down here is going to be really thick. They're still in here cutting timber. Hopefully they leave me some trees. The contract for the property gives them timber rights until September. We're going to close in March. So these guys still have access to whatever timber they want between now and then. Why did I buy a property like that? The price. Absolutely the price. The timber value here was way more than I can afford. So if you're looking for a way to cut corners and buy land for cheaper, call me. A lot of times I'll know about these type of properties that maybe the bulk of the value has been removed because they've cut the timber on it. That does not mean it's not good wildlife habitat and hunting property, because it is. It is actually probably better. Not probably, it is definitely better than mature timber. Is it thick and ugly and nasty and uninhabitable by us? Yes, but the deer and turkeys and squirrels and rabbits, all that stuff, they love it. So anyway, that's where we're at. That's what we're going to do down here. Probably wildlife food plots, screened off good heavily from the road, probably with a row of conifers, I would imagine. I thought I'd bring you down here and show you the creek. This is probably the highlight of the property. But you can see I'm out in the creek right now. You can see that it's a really nice creek. It flows all the time. It's a named creek on the map. I forget the name right off. I'm sure I'll learn that as time goes on, but I'll be really interested to see how much of a buffer they leave along this creek, as well as what they do to restore this creek crossing back to the way it was before they came in here, because it is really bad right now. I mean, I'm mucking up to my knees just about. I've got to try to figure out how to get out of here without taking a drink. But anyway, this is my creek. All right, now let's go check some trail cameras. So this is a little food plot. Believe it or not, there's actually some wheat and some clover and stuff in here. It's just beat down with the cold. And the guy I'm buying the farm from, he had several trail cameras up, so I've just been monitoring those. I'm gonna just pull the cards out of them for the last time this year and just turn it off and close her up. So this right here, where this field is, or this little food plot, it's about a half an acre or so. This will all be part of my row crop ground. This is kind of what we're dealing with. They come in here with a forestry mulcher and ground this up to make these little clearings for their food plots. But you can see what this is. It is just a jungle of saplings, and then there's giant stumps in there. I mean, this thing had some mega timber on it when they cut it. While there's nothing left, people's like, wow, man, they cut it so hard, but it was such an old stand of timber. The stumps, every stump that I see is just huge. I mean, this stump right here is 30 inches in diameter, if not bigger. And there's 10 or 15 of them in this field like that. So anyway, it is, it's an ugly mess right now, but God will fix it. It'll recover, and we're gonna turn a lot of this into some income. So I mentioned in the first video that there's two creeks, and this is going to kind of give me a feel for what the other creek is going to look like. This is the second of those two creeks that the timber's already been cut, and you know, it's not too terrible. Beautiful creek. Here's the creek right here. Really nice. Listen to that water run. Pretty deep little pool right here. There's an obvious deer trail running along the side here, and part of my plans call for coming in here and putting a little food plot right over here, right down in this little travel route, because the deer are really going to utilize this a lot, especially as thick as this is. You can tell there's a real heavy deer trail right here, so they're definitely using this, and with some highly attractive food right next to this running water, it will be a killer spot. I want to get over here to these rocks. Here we go. Yeah, this is awesome here. So it's really hard to beat this. You know, this is a dream come true right here. I'd imagine walking this creek probably produce some Indian artifacts. And it's definitely beautiful down in here. So my property goes across the creek right in here. So this kind of cuts off one corner of the farm. So this is really, really exciting, really pretty. All right, I'm running out of daylight. I've got several more trail cameras to check. I think I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up unless I just come across something that I've just gotta share. And we're gonna get down to work here real soon. Please, I know it may be a little boring right now, but it's gonna get better, I promise. There's gonna be some really good how-to content coming up. You guys wanna subscribe, make sure you get notifications. Tell me down below, you know, if an idea, a name of the farm pops in your head. You've got to see a lot of it so far. Not quite all of it yet, but you've seen a lot of it. So if you got an idea for a name, anything like that, give me a comment. Tell your friends about this. If you got a buddy that's looking to buy land, tell them about me. And get them over here and watch these videos. And let's live this together. And I can't wait to bring you guys along on more of this journey. So stick around. Ridiculous.